Now to introduce our speaker is our Sergeant at Arms, Ken Grant, Classification Marketing. Ken is a member of the Seafair Festival Board of Directors, and he, as am I, is a proud supporter of what our Seafair Festival means to our region. Welcome to the podium, Ken.
Well, well, well. What can I say that has not already been said about our speaker today, Eric Corning? Probably a whole lot, because to me, he's one of the most unassuming pillars in our community. He's also been a member here since 2019. If you've not had the chance, you got to come over and say good day to him at some point, because I still see people introducing themselves. I'm like, come on, 2019. He has been in the experience business for over 25 years, producing high-profile public events in Seattle and around Puget Sound. Interestingly enough, he started as an intern in 1993 under our very own Beth Knox. Come on now. That's a long time ago. As a matter of fact, I don't remember 1993. I remember 92 and 94. He's produced 20 Seafair he's produced 20 Seafair festivals, including the Seafair 4th of July fireworks show, the Seafair Torchlight Parade, and the big Seafair weekend, which includes the US Navy Blue Angels, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. He was also a senior member of the 2018 Special Olympics USA Games with Beth again, and also produced a few around in 2014, the big special Seahawks Super Bowl parade. Somebody had to throw a party, so he did. He's a proud, let me see if I can do this, a proud Husky. Yeah. Lives in Shoreline with his darling wife, Kelly. And it's also really interesting. I asked Beth the other day for a quick note about him. He loves travel, loves car trips, just somewhere special. I'll put it this way. He last Saturday went to the Huskies game. The next day went to the Seahawks game, and then came back Tuesday. Monday, Tuesday. I would like to invite my very special friend, one of the nicest people I've ever met in my entire life, our dear friend and the CEO of Seafair, Eric Corning.
Wow. Thank you, Ken. I don't know if I've ever been introduced quite like that. I'm going to bring up a little bit of cheater notes here that in case I forget something along the way. So I just want to thank you for the opportunity to come and speak again this year. Typically, we're here in the Navy Fleet Week, and we have an admiral who stands up here and tells us all about things in the Coast Guard or the Navy or whatnot. This year, we had the Blue Angels here during Fleet Week, and that was really special. But this time, I want to talk a little bit about behind the scenes with Seafair, a little bit about the business side of Seafair, and how COVID's affected us and our plans about how we're moving forward out of this. I know that COVID's affected everyone in this room in a lot of different ways, whether you're in a nonprofit or a for-profit. So I don't want to say that we're doing any better or any worse at any of these things, but just want to be able to tell you a little bit about our story and about where we're at and where we're heading. I'm going to ask Ken to come back up here because he's played a key role about in the where we're heading department, and we'll get to that here in a minute. So one people I want to be able to thank right out of the gate are the folks around us, our Seafair board. Thank you, Jimmy and Ken, and I'm not sure if other board members are here in the room with us. Beth Knox has been a mentor in being able to talk about what to do when COVID hits and you can't put on events. We have volunteers who have come and helped us out. We've had folks who've donated and all sorts of other community support. And really, when we got to the point and we said, okay, you can't have a 2020 festival and you can't have a 2021 festival, what are you going to do? You know, the revenues running out. There's all sorts of things that are happening there. So I'm going to share a little story about what we decided to do, because we knew that we couldn't do just nothing and we couldn't just close the doors. We have a community to serve and be able to do a festival. Even if it's virtual, we'll go figure out some way to celebrate together. And we figured out how to do a way to do that outside as well. So one other important thing I want you to know going up front is how we think about Seafair and other events in the community, whether they're the Chinatown Parade or the Emoja Fest or Rock and Roll Marathon, or even the FIFA World Cup. You know, these big events that happen in our community, all of these events are really important to us in one way or another. And they only show up in these here are the, 8 weekends you're going to get with the Seahawks, 6 weekends you're going to get with the Huskies, and then these one-day events that we see throughout the year. And those events, they promote the diversity. They've been doing that inclusion piece for years and years and years, just in the background, just by going and participating, to be able to see them in parades, be able to go enjoy food from other cultures. All of this has been around us all these years. And so as we are thinking about how we're going to rebuild and be able to do things in the future that's new and different, it's really going back to our roots of where we started. And Don, thank you for being around in the beginning of Seafair. You told me that just Seafair number 2, the 1951, is where you first showed up with us, which is so amazing from folks in our community who are here to support us. So with that being said, let me move. See where we move. Look at that. So today we'll talk a little bit about our business plan during COVID without our traditional events. We'll talk about special events of industry across the country, Seafair's plan for 2022, and our return of King Neptune. So here's one of the key pieces. When we're reaching out to folks of like, what are we going to do and how are we going to be able to survive? Seafair has typically in the neighborhood of 30 to 40 sponsors every year. And we have some key sponsors that put on that sponsor the Boeing Air Show or Helm Street Hydroplane Race or the Alaska Airlines Short Flight Parade. These sponsors all stuck with us in our multi-year deals. Even though we could not produce an actual event, we went to them and we said, look, we're going to produce this virtual festival. We're going to try to make some hybrid elements of this. And each of those sponsors came up with a cash contribution of a portion of their sponsorship to be able to keep our team moving and allow us to be able to celebrate with the community. And I will be forever thankful for these folks, because they've really made it financially possible for us to be able to move forward. We held 2 fundraisers this year. Again, this is not my cup of tea, is holding fundraisers, but we had a number of people who do have great experience with that. And the fundraisers, one in the spring was a Queen Alcyon's Bash, and Lift Up was its tagline. And then just this past summer, we had an event called Seafair Cocktails and the Blues, where we had some of the same gentlemen you saw here at Rotary spoke at that event. And it was really just a cocktail party, opportunity to get together when it seemed like COVID was headed down and we hadn't heard of this Delta variant too much. And we thought we were kind of getting back into like, hey, we can have this one moment this summer where we can get together and see each other. You'll also see some of the folks along the bottom there are familiar to you here in Rotary of, again, reaching out to folks who would support us in these in-kind ways, with NetTech and Prolumia being 2 that support Seafair in addition to be able to support Rotary. So on the federal side, there has been a number of other opportunities for us to be able to apply for a PPP loan. Again, with a staff of the size of 10 in 2020, we went from a size of 10 down to a staff of 1. And then in 2021, come January, February, we applied for another PPP loan and we brought ourselves back up to 4 and stabilized ourselves through the end of the year. And sponsorship money will show up in 2022 in January and February so that we can go rebuild the staff from there for 2022. But the PPP loans were, again, one of those stabilizing factors so that we could actually be able to keep our staff on plane together. The SVOG, the Shutter Venues Operation Grant, this was available to museums, to many other venues that had seating in it, permanent seating, amphitheaters and whatnot. They changed the rules a little bit of the way in, and they said festivals could apply as well. So we spent hours doing paperwork and filling this out, and our application was denied. And when you get down in their FAQs around number 52, they find out that they say that air shows are not performing arts. Air shows are nice and they think that they're lovely, but they're not what they're trying to be able to cover with this. So that was one of the opportunities we had with federal support and was not able to do this. On the good news, King County had a $600 million grant come in from the federal government to be able to use for supporting the recovery from COVID. And so they earmarked $2 million of that for events and festivals in King County. So that process is going to start next month. And they will have applications open. And again, we believe that we're a very good contender for being able to get some of those dollars to help us out on our way into 2022. But if you look at the three buckets, the sponsorship, the fundraisers, and then this little bit of federal support, that's really been the story of where our revenues come from for these years. Anyone who bought a ticket to Seafair had the opportunity to roll that over into the future, or that they could get the refund. And we had about 75% of the people were looking for refunds. Okay, so this is some of the media that we got this year as we went out publicly and said, all right, it was April when we said, okay, we're not going to have the festival this year, and we'll have a hybrid festival. So it'll have some events that are online. It'll have some events that are in person. So the media was, again, they seem to use these similar hydro pictures from story to story here, but they talk a little bit about how the pandemic allows us to, do things remotely. All right. So this shot here of the Hybrid Festival 2021, that's from our webpage. And basically we made activities for each of the events. And so the Hybrid Festival broke down into TV, radio promotions, in person, and online. So there's a representation of what that looked like for the online events. We worked with King Television to be able to produce 2 TV shows this year, and they produced another hydro show in 2020. The first one was the Seafair Summer 4th, presented by Home Street Bank. We had hired Ken Grant to be able to be the lead producer on this show. And we'll show you just a little tease of it here in just a minute, but it's fantastic working with Ken and his creative energy. And did I mention he had energy? But it was an amazing process and came out with a fantastic show. You can find links to this show on our Seafair website if you'd like to go back and take a peek at it. The second show is when we celebrated the 75th anniversary of the Blue Angels, which was in 2021. We were so excited to get back in the air this year over Lake Washington. 75th anniversary, new Blue Angel jets, that a new Fat Albert, like all these great things were coming. And then wasn't happening. So we actually contracted with some folks who in the air show community who were able to work at other air shows in Florida and Virginia, where COVID has a little different rules than we do. And they were able to put together this amazing show, which went behind the scenes into the new jets. They did a walk around. They had an opportunity to go talk to some of the crew members and the pilots about what the differences are and what's it like to be able to be in the Super Hornet versus the older F-18 Hornets. Again, links at seafair.org if you like to take a peek at those. All right, let me see if I can make this work.
This 4th of July, let's celebrate our nation's birthday with a look at some of our favorite fireworks shows, plus a glimpse of what to expect at Seafair in 2022. Join us for Seafair's Summer 4th, presented by Home Street Bank.
So the great part is when you find great people to work with, they bring great people with them. So thank you, John. We appreciate you being the voice of our public service announcements and all the promos for that. There's a longer 30-second one as well. But anyway, when Ken shot this over and he's like, all right, we've got the promo cut, and I heard John on there, I'm like, oh, I'm just tickled pink. This was so great. So thank you, John. So one of the other things we worked on in 2020 was a program called We Bring Seafair to You. It's presented by Amazon and Alaska Airlines. And the idea is it's a radio promotion where you'll call in on Monday through Thursday, and you'll get to pick from 4 neighborhoods. And whichever neighborhood wins wins. They will be announced on Friday. And on Saturday morning, about 10 in the morning, a caravan of pirates, clowns, hydroplanes, other people and things that make a lot of noise will create a ruckus coming through whatever neighborhood that won, whether that be Fremont or Columbia City or wherever. So we had a great time with this. You can see Amazon brought along their van in the caravan this year. That's actually the prototype of their brand new electric vans from Rivian, which they were quick to say, please, you can take as many pictures of the outside, but don't take any pictures of the inside. Like, okay. And you can see the Alaska Airlines flight attendants came and we had an opportunity to perform and play at the end of the very last one at Westlake Center. So again, these events were really a surprise and delight moment that people who we didn't publish a route because we didn't want anybody to congregate. But when you come out of your house or you're at the park or you're shopping and you see pirates come by and you see these, you know, the giant hydroplanes and whatnot, people get huge smiles on their faces and they want to have that interaction. They want to have those moments. And it just makes me want to go out and do the big events again. It's coming, but it was just so refreshing. What I didn't understand in 2020 was it did the same for the volunteers, that the pirates really wanted to have an opportunity to be pirates and the clowns wanted to be clowns and they really wanted a chance to be able to be in the public in that way. And it was, anyway, a lot of love these days when we got out, chance to be able to get out and just do our thing and, you know, be as COVID safe as we can. So again, at the last event was ended in Westlake Park. And the DSA had invited us to be able to perform there and be able to have some interactions there with the pirates and clowns. And so the folks at Alaska Airlines brought along their dance group. All right, I'm going to need an assist.
Safety does. We can fly where you want to. We can leave your house behind. But if your friends don't mask, and why don't they mask? Well, they won't fly this airline.
You can fly if you want to, cause we do safety right. We have air that's clean and disinfectant machines, zapping germs like an arcade space fun. And we dance
To the dance, to the dance,
Everybody wash some hands.
to the dance, to the dance. We're always wearing a mask. To the dance, to the dance,
No, seriously, please wash your hands.
to the dance, to the dance.
And the filter's cleaning commence. Alaska safety dance. Alaska safety dance. Alaska safety dance.
I love that. And again, that was one of those great moments that I don't know if they ever expected to be dancing with pirates. I'm not sure what they added to it other than just a lot of smiles and fun. But again, this was our opportunity to be able to be out in the public and be able to do some fun things this summer in preparation for coming back in 2022. So one of the other pieces, the hybrid festival, this is something again started in 2020. It was called the Summer of Service, and it's our opportunity to be able to encourage people through our radio partner, through our social media, to be able to go be of service to people in the community. And so we picked 4 different nonprofits to be able to highlight: Fair Start, Bloodworks Northwest, Food Lifeline, and Mary's Place. And so each week, our radio partner and Seafair's social media would all gear around encouraging people. You could donate time, you could volunteer at the places, donate food, whatever the appropriate piece was. So again, it was a great time for us to be able to share. Oh, there we go. Oop, one back. I'm going to let you push the button, Allison. Thank you. So again, this is a little peek into what the online elements of this thing look like. So we did some look backs and had some photos from the past. That's the 1972 Blue Angels team there on the left. We had some video of flying along with the Blue Angels. The bottom right corner is Rear Admiral Buble. That is the new admiral here in the Pacific Northwest, who did some welcome pieces. Building your own Blue Angel airplanes and tours of various Navy ships and other installations. So it was kind of a mismatch of like, how could we bring to life different elements of the events online, since we could not bring actual ships to Seattle this year. So let me switch gears here. So as we talk about like, what are the challenges for events? Because we'll get from the dancing back to the business side. You know, where are we headed in this? So as I speak with my peers around the country, the folks who put on the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade in 2020 turned their parade into a 2-block adventure. And it was basically the people came into the television zone, there was no crowd, and then they left the television zone. And that was a made for TV parade. The 2021 New Year's at the Needle, I'm sure many of you remember that we didn't do fireworks off the Needle. We had this really cool artistic computer graphic piece that was done on there. And again, it was just a different way to celebrate. The folks at the Louisville Festival, oh my gosh, the Kentucky Derby Festival, they have a huge fireworks show every year, one of the largest in the world. And so they could not hold it on the river, like because of obvious reasons. So they wanted to do what New York did, where they would go have 6 secret locations to be able to go do this. They spent the money to be able to have the fireworks vendor come in. They did all the pieces, and it was canceled 24 hours before because somebody had gone into the fire marshal's office, got the permits, knew where all the locations were, and put the word out online of where to go see the fireworks. So they had to cancel. So that's, and again, that's the risks in this industry, that you only get one day to be able to do these sort of things. But, and that is one of those unforeseen pieces of like, you've done the COVID all right, you've done all your secrecy, you've done all these things. But it was, you know, it's something like that had come together. The Sturgis, we spoke with the person who runs the motorcycle rally out there. They said they had record numbers, that you couldn't find a campsite for 100 miles from Sturgis from the motorcycle rally. It's also a super spreader event, but it's but boy, did they have a great time. Again, rules are different in different parts of the country about how we're able to be able to do events. We've also heard a lot of things from other vendors that, you know, their volunteer numbers are 30% off. If people just don't feel comfortable coming back into a volunteer expense or volunteer place. Expenses are 20 to 50% more, which is like a lot of other things. They're just more expensive, or you can't find people to be your security people, or to be able to be, you know, the folks who put up the tents, tables, and chairs, that they don't have the full crew. They only have half of them. A lot of events are going cashless. You know, we'll be able to use your phone or your credit card to be able to type in. And then, you know, even recently here, the Fremont Parade had, or Fremont Festival was on, and they had COVID checks, and they had their check stations and whatnot. They also had some just increased expenses across that, a little bit lower crowds. They had some trolls who came by who wanted to be able to try to clog up the system of like, I don't have to wear this mask, and who can I talk to about that, and whatnot. But I know the Seahawks, Sounders, Huskies, the other sports teams are getting ready for this as well. And so that's a larger, what do I got, Ken? You give me the look like I'm okay? Great. So again, the proof of vaccination or a negative COVID test. And that's just part of the realities of how now we're going from, we can't get together, to now, like at Rotary, we trust that all of us have had vaccinations that come together in this room. And so by next summer, we'll have evolved again to, and we don't know what those rules are going to be, but we're going to go plan festivals and events that are going to fit those rules and be able to help take us forward. So I'm going to click forward here. So this Lollapalooza, this is in Chicago this summer. And again, this is this is a mostly not masked event that happened this summer. The Seahawks game that we're expecting this Sunday is, you know, the rules around masking and the vaccinations and whatnot. I was just, as Ken mentioned, in Michigan with 108,000 of my closest friends. That makes you really want to wear a mask. But again, these are amazing outdoor experiences. It's a matter of like, how are we going to work as a society together to be able to figure out how to work that together? And more locally here, the city of Seattle has some resource issues with Seattle police and a loss of, you know, 200 to 300 officers. And how that affects events is we need police to be able to close the streets and be able to go put on parades and be able to go have events that are in various areas. So we're working very closely with them about what 2022 is going to look like. What changes do we need to make as Seafair to be able to make sure the events will go on, and be able to, what elements are going to need to change? The same for that Emoja Fest or the Chinatown Parade or others. And how is the city helping to prepare to be able to work with us on these in the future? Those are all questions that we're working through all of that over this winter. But that's going to be something where I need to answer on a lot of levels. You know, I'm really excited for the work that Beth is doing with trying to be able to get an all-star game and FIFA and other big events to come here to Seattle. And I really want that for Seattle, not only from I'm a fan and I just want to be able to come be present, but also professionally, in that if they can make sure that those events can happen, they can make sure that the Seafair can happen. So the, I think I have just 2 more slides for you, Ken. So this is a little peek ahead at Seafair 2022. And we know that we want to be able to come back. And again, this is like, how do we be able to check in with each other and do an event that's on the water, like a milk carton derby? Can we bring the big ships back to the waterfront with Fleet Week? Be able to do Torchlight Parade and be able to have either proper distancing, proper masking, and be able to allow people to perform. The 4th of July fireworks show on Lake Union. That top right picture there with the Japanese community, that's one of my favorite, and that's oh man, it's Bonadori. Thank you so much. And again, that's those community festivals where you get to go experience the culture in a way that's put on by the people from that culture, and it's an amazing time. Also, there, you know, hydroplane racing, the Torchlight Run, but what's coming up in our future, I'm going to turn this over to Ken. And the reason I'm doing this is because Ken has really been a force in our Seafair on our board. He's very new to it, but he's also come to our strategic planning and talking about what we were going to do in 2019 when we thought we were going to move forward. And then as things started to change and COVID hit, he's been one of those forces of nature that when you talk about how you move forward and what we can do in this really positive way and really tell our story, he's been fantastic at it. So I want to turn this over to Ken to talk a little bit about the exciting things coming up in Seafair 2022.
That's a lot of flattery. I'm going to make this really fast. So when I came into the board, I was surprised. This is a 72, 71-year-old organization. I'm like, what are they doing with a futurist? And then Eric, as he just said, was very kind of say, okay, so let's blow this thing up and see what happens. So there was, remember Maria Trengali? She was a member with us for a long time. She's on the board. She ran the strategic committee. And if you've been on a strategic committee, you know, you want to get excited, but on the other hand, you got to you can't rush things, right? So you got to learn. So the very first thing we did was like, what works, what doesn't work, as in what's losing money and what might happen in the future, right? Second, who cares? As a brand strategist for 25 years, I always start everything, who cares? A lot of people, a lot of great audience members of Seafair are dying. So how do you go after new audience, and how do you get a more diverse audience that starts to replicate really a lot more about Seattle? On top of that, then we started to decide something really important, which was how do we allow the Seafair experience fun to be pushed out to the suburbs? So instead of asking everybody to just come to Seattle, how do you push it out? So those were 3 things that sort of laid it out. And then the other really radical one, which I'm not sure if I'm going to talk about, but it's still like, permission, is also making Seafair not just synonymous with summer. The challenge that these guys face, we face as the board, and Beth used to face, is you got to shove all this thing in to the 2 nice days of weather that we have in Seattle. And that's not fair, right? So we started really, and this is part of, you know, I'll talk about this in a second, part of like, how might we make this a year-round, different kind of festival, right? So with all that in place, we start looking then at what's possible, right? What do we have? What would the younger audience like? And one of the very first things we noticed after a lot of research is music. Where's the music at? So I was very fortunate enough to have thought up this crazy, stupid idea of how about we take a floating concert to the people. So this is at the same time that we're thinking this, there just happens to be 2 dudes in town who threw concerts who also thought of exactly the same thing. Isn't that bizarre? So we just had to sort of float together, excuse the pun. And so we thought of this, and so that we did a test, and then we did two rollouts a couple of weeks ago. I think there's a picture of me naked. There it is. By the way, see that incredible our gentleman from Taiwan's like, just turn that thing off. Do you know what you call a group of flamingos? This is true. Flamboyance. Anyway, so this was really fun. This was one of the most incredible things. So that's coming next year. The cool thing is we can put different kinds of music on it and run it around different parts of Puget Sound. No questions. I'm so sorry. We're not going back to the naked photo. It was a compliment. Not with me naked, it's not. Next year, as Eric also said, we're bringing back the Blue Angels. In all of our research, there's some things that we can mess around with and potentially get rid of. This is not one of them. Everybody wants the flip and loud. So these guys have come back with a new plane, which is louder, faster, and bigger. Who doesn't want that in a plane? So that's really cool. And then because Eric gave us the chance to think of like anything we wanted to, right? As long as it sort of went back to the demo and the reach around Puget Sound. This is one of the coolest things. We've never had this in Puget Sound. Do I just push go? This is a drone show that's coming at least once next year. We're going to have at least 200 drones, 200 drones. Can I get a three? Anybody a three? 200 drones. This is what it looks like, and two music. So a lot like the fireworks. That, come on now. I will leave you with this. I have to believe that Eric is in very safe hands, very capable man, and has surrounded himself by some very, very cool people. So I think we're in for another good 72 years of a lot of fun in and around Puget Sound. All right, so we're going to change gears now. We're going to do something very special. If you remember over the last couple of years when we were down at that pier, what's its name? Yeah, Bell Harbor. We always knighted the president. So I'm going to have these three come on up.
Come on up.
And while we do this, interesting fact, you already heard part of this. Don first got involved with Seafair in 1951. He was the 13th Seafair Prime Minister and was crowned the King Neptune in 1999. Whoa, they're already ahead of me. Which was the Seafair's 50th anniversary. So I'm going to hand this right over right now to Don Kraft, AKA Neptune Rex, the 50th.
General, sir, would you please assume the kneeling position here on the royal cushion? That's clear down. And, you know, one time I was a enlisted man in the United States Navy. They called us petty officers. And I can't tell you how much pleasure this gives me. We, Neptune Rex the 50th, expressing the utmost confidence that you will do justice to these positions, do hereby knight you, Larry Collins, as the Titan of the troops, the Wizard of Weyerhaeuser, the Swami of Seafair, the Sultan of Service, and of course, the Raja of Rotary. And sir, we do this with all the rights, responsibilities, appurtenances, and hereditament thereto appertaining for the full term of our reign. Sir Larry, you may stand. And folks, this is probably a good opportunity to say thank you to our leader who has devoted his entire life to service. These are your troops. The Star of Neptune and all of your titles.
My goodness, that's a full list.
Yes.
Thank
Sir, I respect you.
And likewise,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's quite an experience. I'm honored and appreciative, and first of all, let me say, Eric, thank you for your and Ken's comments, the remarkable story of the behind the scenes at Seafair. I'm proud of the many important contributions that Seafair makes to our Puget Sound quality of life. My nuggets of wisdom about Seafair not just come from your comments today, but from having served at close range with you and Beth Knox and Beth Wojcik. My wife and I have lived in a number of communities in the world, and there are nice things to do in most of them, but Seafair is special. And I would call out the most specific thing that I've noticed, and this started more than 30 years ago. Seafair celebrates all of the many neighborhoods and ethnicities in our region, including the armed forces, who are invited in and get special pricing and things like that to enjoy the best of Puget Sound. And that's really special. And I said, I want to have a hand in making sure this continues. So I've been a shameless supporter and honored today, particularly to have Neptune with his many experiences under his belt selecting me. Eric, in recognition of your generosity of time with us today, Seattle 4 has contributed to Harvest Against Hunger. It's a Rotary District 5030 project, as well as a nonprofit which provides healthy meal components to regional food banks. 600 servings of fresh produce have been given in your name.